What's up, everybody? It's Justin. I just got back from seeing The Hobbit. Well, I didn't get back from just seeing it. I saw it yesterday, but I'm doing a review right now, and I'm gonna tell you what I think about the film. And before I go on to this film, I should probably say what I thought about The Lord of the Rings. And what I thought about The Lord of the Rings, I thought they were all pretty good. The first one is pretty awesome story-wise. It's really flowing. The second one is the one I usually forget. I mean, the one I remember the least, but it's not a bad film. It's just kind of that midway point between, you know, the awesome introduction and that awesome climax from Return of the King, which that's the best one in the series, obviously. A lot of people agree on that, I mean. And they've always been stellar films to me. They're not, I don't think they're perfect. I know a lot of the people love those movies. A lot of people consider it one movie, which I can see why, and they consider it their favorite movie ever, which, yeah, I can see why. It's just not my cup of tea. I was always more of a Harry Potter fan, which, you know, I know there's a lot of mix between the two, but, you know, Lord of the Rings is just not something I always got into, but I watched them. I thought they were alright. I'm watching the extended editions. You know, I'm trying to get through them right now. And they're really slow paced, but, you know, I'm getting through them. And now it's been 11 years since the Fellowship of the Ring, of the Ring, and The Hobbit came out. And I wasn't super excited for this film. I saw a trailer. It looked cool, but I wasn't super excited. Plus, you know, with a prequel like this, a lot of the old characters aren't coming back. It's kind of like Star Wars almost, which a lot of people probably have made this comparison. But yeah, you know, he released 3 films, the originals, and then he's releasing 3 prequels. And a lot of people, they're making their debates about it. A lot of people like it, and it's been getting mixed reviews on Rotten Tomatoes. I think it had a 65% Rotten Tomatoes, and I saw that, and I was like, I wonder if this movie's gonna be good or bad, you know, whatever it is, and I liked it. In fact, I think I might like it more than Lord of the Rings, which a lot of people, I don't know if they like it more than Lord of the Rings, but I like it better. I'll start going through probably why I like it better, and what are the problems with it. Well, let's start with Bilbo, of course, you know, played by Martin Freeman, who, you know, he's doing an excellent job. I will say that much. I actually think he's more fun to watch than Frodo, which, you know, a lot of people are gonna be like, yeah, he's so different from Frodo, which, you know, it's a good thing. It's a good thing he's different from Frodo, but I just like this character more. Because with Frodo, it was always, you know, he always had this different, he was more adventurous in the first one, it seemed like, but as the films went on, he got more darker and more like quiet, and he seemed, maybe it was just Elijah Wood's performance, or maybe that's how he is in the book, but I know he's turning from, you know, from good to, you know, he's having this transformation throughout the film. Not really a transformation, but the ring's really changing him, and that's a point plot in the, you know, in the whole series, which I don't know. I never liked Frodo a ton. I always liked Sam way more, which probably a lot of people agree with me on there, but, you know, Frodo wasn't super interesting. But Bilbo, I love Bilbo. I think he's a lot more fun to watch, and I think he's got a better body language, a better sense of humor, I think he's better all around. Gandalf, he comes back, which he's pretty much how he was in the old movies. You know, he was funny at first, and then all of a sudden he became this great mighty warrior, which, you know, I love Gandalf. Gandalf is a great character. He always has been. He's always been a great leader. And Ian McKellen, he is older now. He's 11 years older, but he still looks pretty good to be Gandalf, especially since he's playing a 60-year-old younger, you know, 60 years younger Gandalf. And that's another thing I should go over. They really do connect this to Lord of the Rings good, which I don't know if they do that in the book. I haven't read the book, so I want to make that clear right now. I haven't read any of the books. I was gonna read it, but I was sitting next to someone who did read the books, so every time something didn't happen in the book, you know, she'd tell me, so I was able to know what's different, what's new. I liked it, but what was I gonna say now? Something about, oh yeah, connections. That's what I was gonna get. The connections are really, really good, because the whole beginning of the film actually connects it pretty well, which I'm not going to reveal any spoilers, but you know, it's pretty awesome how they connect it, especially if you're a huge fan of the old movies. You're going to be like, what? But it's pretty awesome. The 13 Dwarves, I think there's 13, maybe 12, but maybe 7. 7 dwarves? Nah. I like them. When I saw the trailer, I saw, you know, in the trailer, Gandalf introduces all of them, and I thought, oh, here we go, we gotta learn a bunch of new characters, which was always kind of a pet peeve of mine in The Lord of the Rings. They always introduce tons of characters, which I don't think we need to learn about, but, you know, they did alright, but it's not really 13 characters as much as 12 characters. How many dwarves were there? I think there was 14 altogether, so I think 12 dwarves, but if anything, it's really 3 characters. The dwarves, well, maybe 4. Yeah, 4. There's the main dwarf. I said 12. Elf and dwarf. Anyway, the main dwarf was pretty much, you know, the grandson of the main king when their castle was taken down, which I think this is the same. Well, not castle. The castle's under a mountain, which I think it's the same one from Fellowship. I'm pretty sure it is, which I don't know. I'm not a big follower of those books, so comment if I'm saying this wrong, but I think it's the same one as the place where Gandalf died in the Fellowship. I'm pretty sure. But, you know, he's the main dwarf, which he has a lot of character. You can see the character development in him. And then you got Gandalf. And then you have Bilbo. Then you got the 11 other dwarves, which they're sort of characterized. You know, you got the fat one. You got the slick one. You know, I think they had a slick one. Then they had the one who talked to Bilbo for like 5 seconds. You got like kind of those twins guys who do the same thing, which it wasn't capitalized as much as I wish it would have been. I wish if they were going to introduce this many characters that they'd kind of, because that's one thing the Lord of the Rings always did good, was character development, you know, and I figured, yeah, maybe they'll characterize these some, but you know, they got 2 other movies, maybe they'll do it in those ones, but as of right now, there wasn't a ton of character development between all those dwarves, but they all have like the same names, like Bolfin, Blarfin, I can't even know their names. I'm probably saying these all wrong, but seriously, I'm not really a Lord of the Rings fan, I just like the movies. I try to pay attention. But that's a good thing. I will say one thing right now. The thing the Lord of the Rings I always liked was the character development. The one thing I didn't like was that it didn't always have a flowing narrative. It jumped around a lot. It seemed like. And maybe a lot of people are like, no, it didn't. But you know, for me, it's just like, it seems like they're talking about a ton of stuff in 1 second, and it's like, you gotta slow down, which, you know, they did. They slowed it down to like 3 hours. It's like, I don't want to watch a 3-hour movie, but with the Lord of the Rings, there was always points where I'd sit there and be like, ugh. But with this film, I started watching it, and I realized there's parts in it which, you know, in the Lord of the Rings, I would go, oh, because, you know, they have the battle sequence, and they have a talking thing, which, you know, I'm gonna get to that, but anyway, they do that, and when I watch those scenes, I realized I didn't get bored. I actually liked watching some of those scenes. It was nice seeing the cast back together, too, because, you know, Saruman's back, which, from what I've heard, he's not in the book, but he's there, because, you know, you can't leave Christopher Lee out. He's an amazing actor. You can't leave him out as Saruman, but, you know, it was those scenes which I get bored of in The Lord of the Rings, which I don't know why. Maybe I gotta rewatch them again, but, you know, when I first watched them, I got bored because it dragged on. And in these movies, I didn't get bored of it. And I'm beginning to wonder if the Lord of the Rings are, you know, obviously all movies are better in theaters, but there's some movies that are meant for theaters. And I'm wondering if Lord of the Rings really is meant to be seen in the big screen, on the big screen in theaters, which that's what The Hobbit was for me. I really liked it. I don't know if I'm going to like it as much when I watch it on the smaller screen with a couple people. Because, you know, that's the point when I can start pointing out everything. But on a big max scale, it's nice to see Middle-earth. I didn't see any of the movies in theaters. You know, I was really young at the time. And obviously, the only way I'd get there was my parents. And my parents aren't really movie buffs. But, you know, The Hobbit on the big screen was... it looked really nice. Middle-earth looked really dazzling. I'm sure if I saw those other movies on the big screen, it also looked dazzling, which I'm beginning to wonder maybe I should see them on the big screen if they ever re-release them, which I have no doubt. They probably will. They're like, the Star Wars of our generation? Which, that's the thing. It's a lot like Star Wars. You got the prequels, the 3 prequels now being released, And you got the old films now. Now they're old films pretty much because there's a new prequel trilogy. What's there to say? I didn't think there was enough character development, but I think there was a narrative story in this one, unlike the Lord of the Rings where it was the opposite. And it just, I was wondering what was that all about, but there's probably going to be more of a, character development within the future films, which I don't think this should be 3 films. I tried saying 1 film, but my friend said no, you couldn't do 1 film. Which, you know what? On a cinematic scale, it probably shouldn't be 1 film because a lot of fans would be like, "Oh, we want more." And you know what? I want more of this. I don't think it needs another 2 films though. I think 2 films altogether would have been fine. And I can see why Peter Jackson cut into 3 because these are long movies. He's obsessed with taking every little detail from the books. But then there was a lot of stuff that wasn't in the book, which I know this for a fact. I was sitting by someone who read it and they said that wasn't in the book, that wasn't in the book. Like there's this big rock battle between these 2 things, which she says wasn't in the book. It may have been, you can correct me if I'm wrong, but she said it was not in the book, and it seems really pointless. You've seen it in the trailer. It was like this big rock guy, kind of looks like the guy from the Never-Ending Story, and it just was really random. And I was wondering, why are they adding this? The movies are already long enough, and I know Peter Jackson said we gotta have 3 films now because we gotta make them longer. Well, which, he also originally intended for the Lord of the Rings, but then the company actually said this is 3 films. I don't know if they said that again, but they may have. They might have said 3 films just to get more money because I thought it was gonna be originally 1 film, but then they did 2 parts because I think that's what Harry Potter did, and they wanted to make more money. Which nothing wrong with that. But on the cinematic scale, should be 2 parts. It's becoming 3 parts because, I don't know, they're adding a lot of stuff that I don't think should be added. I think they should just keep it simple. But like how Lord of the Rings was. It was always a bunch of stuff going on, but it always revolved around one story. Frodo getting that ring to that mountain. And that's what this film should be about. Well, in this film, they're trying to bring the dwarves to their mountain. And on the way, Bilbo just happens to find the ring. Which, I begin to wonder, this film's going to kind of end on a dark note. Kind of like, actually, how Star Wars ended on the 3rd movie. The series ended on a dark note, which, yeah, I know they're making sequel trilogy now. They're making a sequel trilogy, so... But, I mean, the prequel trilogy for Star Wars ended on a dark note. And I think The Hobbit is gonna, too. Unless they do something with, like, an epilogue. But, as of right now, Bilbo has that ring, and he's obviously gonna keep it because, he has in the Lord of the Rings. And the ring's not a good thing, so it's kind of going to end on a darkish note. Not super dark, but kind of dark. But that's the one awesome aspect of the film. It's Andy Serkis' return as Gollum, which they've pretty much perfected him. Usually with CG, I can tell if something's fake and when something's real. A lot of people can. Gollum was one of the biggest challenges in my life to wonder if he was fake or real. I mean, District 9, that was pretty good. Which I guess had something to do with Peter Jackson. That was also pretty good. The alien in that movie looked amazing. That looked almost real. But I didn't see it on the big screen. I'm seeing Gollum on the big screen. He's almost perfected. And it's unbelievable how good he looks. And he's got blue eyes, which I don't know if he had, but his blue eyes almost make him look younger. But he's supposed to be younger, but it's like, he lives like 500 years. Like, 100 years for him is like 10 years for us, so he shouldn't look that young. But, I don't know. I don't know if he had blue eyes in the original. I think he might have. They just weren't so shiny, and he didn't look so torn up. But maybe that's just the CG. The CG looks amazing. Andy Serkis, of course, is amazing as the character, which, he seems a little different from the original. I mean, watch The Two Towers again. When Gollum meets Frodo and Sam, he acts sort of happy. Sort of happy. He's not really angry at them, but then again, I think he knows they have the ring and he's going to try to trick it into them. In this movie, he kind of wants to attack Bilbo. He's like angry at him and everything, even though he's still messing around with it, which that's just Andy Serkis's like perfect performance as Gollum. He owns Gollum. But I'm almost wondering that if this film is going to show why he was nice to Frodo in the last film, because he knows from the past that it didn't work out so well the first time. He also learns his name is Baggins, which I don't know if he learned Frodo's last name in the original films, because his name's Baggins, and I'm wondering if he remembers, oh, Baggins, because I'm wondering in the Lord of the Rings why he didn't think, oh, he's a Baggins. Wait, that other Baggins stole my ring. Maybe they're starting to connect everything, but I don't know. I think someone just came in the house. I'm not sure, but anyway, I like the film. I'd recommend seeing it, and I know a lot of critics are saying it's like, you know, they're giving it modest reviews, but I think that's mostly because it's been 11 years since the other Lord of the Rings, and I'm wondering if they're either getting old of it, they're getting, like, you know, they're getting saying, oh, this is just old, you know, this is old stuff, we gotta see something brand new, because a lot of ways it's a lot like the Lord of the Rings, and I know a lot of people think the beginning's slow, but I don't think it is. I think it's pretty flowing. Something's going on in every scene, which they don't have like a half-hour talk like they did in like the Lord of the Rings or anything. I like the film all in all. I enjoyed it a lot more than the Lord of the Rings, I think, you know, but that's just my opinion. A lot of you might watch it and think, it wasn't that good. You know, you think what you want. Everyone's entitled to their opinion. Me, it was alright. I don't know what else to say. I will say this. The 48 frames per second deal, my theater I don't think had it because it didn't look much different. I think maybe it was only for 3D, or maybe it was in certain theaters. I heard about that, and I didn't see it in 3D. I saw it in 2D, so I probably saw the 24 frame per second. But it looks, my friend said it looked blurry, so I'm wondering, and it didn't look blurry to me, but you know, maybe it looks blurrier in 24 because it's kind of cutting the whole frames in half now, you know, the second per 8, you know. If you haven't heard about the 48 frames per second, look it up online. There's all kinds of talk about it. And oh, and the action, it was good. They do those frame shots, like the overhead shots, and this is going on, but they have a lot of that shaky cam, which I never liked. You know, which really shows that action in the last 10 years has changed a lot, especially for films like Transformers. You know, everything's like shaky cam, which thinks it looks cool, which it happens a lot, and there's a lot of those cut frames, like, alright, here's a second of this frame, now to the next one, now to the next. I don't know why they don't do more of those flowing shots, or, you know, like, some of the shots are like that, but a lot of it is shaky cam, which isn't in the originals. But you know what? They don't have those stupid those stupid skip shots that they had in the originals. You know, like the skip shots that they have. They have one. Definitely, I know they have one in the third one when like Pippin grabs that globe thing and it starts shaking him. It's one of those weird like skipping shots, and it gets all blurry and everything, which supposedly looks cool, but I think it looks stupid. And they don't have that. They don't have that at all in this film, which is awesome. Well, if you haven't seen it yet and you're a fan of The Lord of the Rings, go see it. If you're a fan of the book, you might like it. I'm not so sure. The person I was sitting by, like I'm saying, she was kind of disappointed because a lot of it was different from the book. But you know what, hey, you might like it. If you're not a fan of Lord of the Rings, you probably won't like this film. Unless you're like me and you kind of like it, but you're kind of indifferent, you might like this film. Like, I don't know why I really liked it. Like I said, I liked it a lot more for some reason. I think it's just because of the whole narrative. And the music, of course. The music is always something that keeps me entranced. And this is going on forever, this video. I'm going to cut it off here. But thanks for watching. And see you soon.